Welcome to another live stream. I'm just going to paste something in here on my personal page. The algorithm on Facebook is different. You don't get any shares if you post something with a YouTube link on it. So I like to do that right before I go live now. So I'm going to paste that in, see if it works. Hopefully it does. And welcome to live. I'm looking in the chat here. I see Freddie. So good to have you, Freddie. We'll put chat on the air here. I said that earlier. 1.14. Yes, it is. Celebrating the subscribers. Thank you guys very much for subscribing to the channel. Freddie, let me know that everything is sounding good and the video looks good. And we're live, so it's great to have you here with me, Freddie. And so I said hi, and there's where you are from, Freddie, all the way from Caracas, Venezuela. Let me know if I'm saying that right or not. Give me a right. And audio and video a little overexposed. Okay, well, let's hit this. See if that adjusts my lights. Not sure what's going on with the exposure. I guess I can turn my key light down just a little bit in case it really is overexposed. And let's see, maybe a little bit less hair light and a little bit less of this light. So hope that looks a little better. Again, thank you so much for joining me. We have lots to cover tonight. Also see Bill is here all the way from Chicago. Welcome, Bill. It's good to have you. We've been off the air now for 2 weeks. I have been working on some projects and been dealing with some HyperDeck stuff that we will talk about. Have some clients I've been helping with HyperDecks and been trying to work through some issues that we're discovering. The more I go deeply into the HyperDeck, the more I learn about that device. And that's kind of be our conversation tonight. The good, the bad, and the ugly of the HyperDecks. And the HyperDecks have been around for a long time. There's a new line that came out last summer. And I have one of the old and one of the new. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight and have some Q&A and then call for help. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, give you kind of an update of my conversation with the technical support at Blackmagic. And also looking forward to what you're looking forward to seeing at NAB, maybe some announcement that you might be looking forward to seeing. I saw that Canon released a couple lenses today. I don't have the details. But again, I think people are going to start sneaking out information so they hit the news early. And that will be really fun. It's good to see you here, Joel from Conjoling Technologies. Good to have you all the time and appreciate your influence on this channel over the time that we've been live and you've been with us. So thank you so much for joining me, Joe. So again, tonight we're going to discuss the good, the bad, and ugly of the HyperDecks. I do have a post-show planned. I have some projects I want to talk more about in the post-show. One of them has nothing to do with live streaming tech, but it will be fun. You can look at the still image and get an idea of what that might be about. You kind of see the flame theme. If you watch my intro reel, the very last part of my intro reel wasn't a still image. It was actually the real video that I took a still image from that I created in Adobe Premiere. And I'm going to show you guys that file tonight as well. So hopefully we'll get all of that done before our hour and 10 minutes is up tonight for the live show. And then we have the post show somewhere around 5:15. The best I can do. We're going to have some Q&A tonight, so I don't have a lot that we're going to cover, but I do want to talk the HyperDecks because I really believe that there's a couple things that we can discuss about the HyperDecks, but I want to take some time to greet everybody and see if anybody else pops in. So Freddie says the light is better. I made a little bit of tweaks, and I have it preset in my Stream Deck. So I'm not sure what's going on. I don't think I changed anything in my EOS R. Occasionally it clicks off auto ISO and gets overexposed, but I don't think that's happening because it's a little bit brighter than this when it does that. So Freddie also says, love the flame theme. Yeah, well, there's a reason for that, and we'll kind of develop that as the night goes on, and tie that into the post show as well. And I hope you guys will enjoy that. And I hope you'll join me for the post show. I'm going to talk a little bit about why other YouTubers that are influencing my life over the last number of years are starting second channels. So we're going to chat a little bit about that in the post show, as well as a couple projects I have working. I also will be making an announcement in the post show about a guest that we are going to have here live in a few weeks. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the post show as well. And again, the post show is a chance for me to kind of take the gloves off, per se, light the fire, put out more things, more things in the world of Keith Bennett and Life Journey Production Studios, talk shop a little bit as well tonight. And that'll be fun. So, but we have really a full live show tonight. It's good to see you here. Thank you. Conjoling Technologies, the grooming talk is always amazing. Thank you. I did get a haircut. That's one of the things I did in the 2 weeks off. It is great to see Tony here from Quick Tech Solutions. I greet you. I've missed you guys. I have not missed some of the things that go into a live stream getting ready, but I sure missed getting a chance to hang out with those of you that are here on the channel. And those of you that are watching after the live, come join us live at 4 o'clock Tuesday Pacific Standard Time. And then the post show somewhere around 5:15 after this show is over, and hang out with us, learn more about live streaming tech, learn more about some of the tools that we use to communicate, not only in live streaming, but with conference calling and then video production, because a lot of these things can be used to make videos. I do it all the time here on the channel. So again, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And let's just see here. No puppet show tonight in the post show. Apologize. But again, Joe, I have some other things that I'm working on, some projects, and I wanted to focus on those tonight in the post show. So I'll let the cat out of the bag. There is no furry friends joining me in the post show. So I hope that doesn't ruin your night. Because again, I know that some of you thoroughly enjoy those guys showing up. So again, we're going to talk about HyperDecks tonight: the good, the bad, the ugly. And I have a list, and I don't even know if we can cover all of this stuff. But I want to start by saying right off the bat that I did reach out this week. Number one, I produced a video. I've reached out to Blackmagic Design technical support in the past for some of these issues when I was way more of a rookie. And I'm still really a rookie when it comes to ATEMs, HyperDecks, Blackmagic Design. I mean, I've been around video production for many years, but I haven't been around these tools. And obviously the ATEM Mini is not that old. Neither are the Pro or the Pro ISO or the Extreme now and the Extreme ISO. So those are all kind of new products. There's a new line of HyperDecks that you all know probably about. If you don't know that, you should check those out. I do have some still images I can pop up on here as we get discussing them. But I wanted to say that as I reached out to technical support about one specific issue, and some of you even responded, some of you watched that video, and I appreciate that very much because, you know, your input's great. But I want to say that as I was talking to technical support about this conversation over this kind of last week, shared that people have shared with me that they're having the same problem. And that problem is, and we'll go right to ugly, because we are going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I want to throw this out because I really feel like this is kind of the key foundation to why we're having this HyperDeck conversation. I've had them before, but this is kind of the first time I've had a conversation about my experience with technical support, my experience with Blackmagic Design as it goes with their software and trying to solve what these problems are. And my other experience, really, to be honest with you, that I've had in this live streaming realm has been with Adam Tao with Mixeffect, and he's always been such an amazing communicator. That's been a great experience for me. And so that is kind of my litmus test, right? I kind of compare to everything, which may be not fair because I would give Adam Tao A++ on his support and being on the community sites and communicating, answering questions. And if you haven't joined some of those, you can find Mixeffect group on Facebook. And again, you can reach out to Adam. His email is available. And again, he designed the Mixeffects app, and I am using that app tonight to run my macros, and I can change super source inputs with it as well. And I'll go ahead and answer this question mid-thought, just because, Joe, yeah, those lights are the DJI LED lights. I love them, and I got the extension, so they go all the way up one side and all the way down. And actually, if you look back there over my shoulder, there may be kind of a hint somewhere between the picture of Batman and Robin 1966, and then down here, the book about Batman and Robin, the TV series, and then next to that is the Blu-ray, and then below that I have Boba Fett, and below that Bigfoot, the hide-and-seek champion. But yeah, those are semi-new lights. I think they've been live in my show now for 3 weeks. We put the extension together live, if I remember how that went, and so and I learned about those lights as far as if they were quality, if they work, and if they're cool. From Tony from Quick Tech Solutions. And after he gave me his input about those lights, I had to, and I have other lights, obviously, from Elgato. I said DJI, right? Elgato. Sorry, strip light. I apologize for that. I get those guys mixed up, but that's Elgato. I've got the key light. My son's got the key light Air. And then I have the Key Light Mini. That's my hair light up here. You can see it lighting up my hand because it's right off camera. And that kind of gives me my rim light or hair light. So those are new lights. So thank you for that question. And yes, I know I'm not recording, but I thank you for pointing that out. He knows that because right here it says no ISO recording. I will record here in a little bit, but I don't have the disk space tonight to do both shows. And so I'm going to kind of hand pick some of the places that I want to record tonight. So hopefully YouTube does a great job of getting this out there and recording it at 1080p H.264. Okay, so back to this conversation. So the problem that I've been having is a disconnect. And let me see, I can bring this up so you guys can see. I don't have it disconnected tonight because I fixed it. But if you watch my new video here on the channel, you'll see the problem because I actually go through the problem, reconnect, and a lot of you have experienced this and you kind of know this. Let me go to this view. Me and my laptop here. So here next to me, you can see the control software by Blackmagic Design, and it changes depending on what device you have. So just keep that in mind. So you can see that I have 4 channels up in the top row. Those would be live. And you can see right now all the way over there that I have a logo in a key live. And then down below in the bottom row up here, you can see that I actually have SuperSource live. And so everything on top is live and everything on the bottom is getting ready to go live. So if you have your ATEM control software set up to do that, then you can go from green channels down below to them being in your preview. And then when you switch, they go live to your program. And then you can have your multi-view set up that way as well if you have a ATEM Pro and above, because the little ATEM Mini does not have multi-view. So also on the same screen, you can set up your HyperDecks, and that's down in the bottom left-hand corner. I use little flying arrows in my videos because it's very hard to see, but this is the system settings. And then you got all these folders here. So the control software kind of likes the file folder idea. So you open up these different settings. So down on the bottom, you not only have the switcher settings, you have 4 folders down here. You have folders up here on the right-hand side where your keys are. Your media pool player is there, as well as your output settings. And then you have these folders up here. And under HyperDeck, what's happening is that for some reason, it's disconnecting from the IP address. It doesn't matter if the IP address is correct. For some reason, it's disconnecting. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the trick that you do is that you can go, and I can do this, so I can make it go red. So I'll hit 2, change that IP address live, which is dangerous because I need these to do my live show. It gives me this error message. Then if I go back to 1, and this is exactly the error message I get, have no clue why. And if I go back and put the 1 in, this is how you fix it when the error message is. So you would change it back and it'll reconnect, but you actually have to go back when it has this red and do one more step. And that's what the crazy thing is. You saw that I was able to just disconnect it. I put the wrong IP address and then put it in, and then I put the right IP address in and it reconnected. But when you see this error, you actually have to do the same steps. You have to put the wrong IP address in and hit enter, which then it tries to connect. Because when you close the screen, and I'll hit save here, when you close the screen, it does try to reconnect. Or when you hit save, or you change an IP address, or you change a setting in there. But no one knows really why it's disconnecting. And to shout out to Tony, he messaged me in my video chat last week when I released it, and he said that he just leaves this HyperDeck on. I've done testing with the HyperDecks on and still have run into this problem, though it's less frequent. If I leave the HyperDecks on, I actually have 2 HyperDecks hooked up, which again, you can see on my screen here, and you can have up to 4 HyperDecks. So again, I think there's a limit amount of things you can have connected to the ATEM. I think it's 5. So I'm assuming that if you have 4 HyperDecks, you've taken up 4 things communicating through the Ethernet port. So keep that in mind. You'd only have 1 thing left, which would probably be a Stream Deck if you're using it, or Mix Effect. So keep that in mind if you ever decide, and I haven't met anybody yet in my sphere of influence that actually has 4 HyperDecks, and rarely do I even see 2, though I have run into some people that are doing 2 HyperDecks. So again, I reached out to Blackmagic Design and started explaining what my problem is, and it's all done through support and texting, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. And so typing away what the problem is, talked about it, communicated back and forth. The things that I was asked to do are, 1, to explain what I had hooked up and how I was hooked up in my network, because it could be a IP problem, a network switch problem. And I have a UniFi switch that all of these devices right here on my desk that are designed to communicate during my live streams are connected to. With the exception of my Apple TV, my Apple TV as well. So the things I use right here that need Ethernet or internet, I have connected through the same switch. And I've actually had to reset it recently because I was having an on and off problem with Mix Effect on my iPad. And the only thing that we could figure out, Adam and I, was to just reset the IP. And I made sure that I didn't have the display set to timeout, and I wasn't going out of Mix Effects to another app. That will also cause it to have to reconnect and refresh when it becomes the main app. But in the HyperDeck, for some reason, regardless of what kind of testing I did, I can get more connections more often if I have a sequence of how I turn everything off and turn everything back on again. And but no solution. In fact, one of the things that kind of blew my mind, but I really didn't say anything about my influence or other people that have having the same problem, was that one of the suggestions was, after we got done trying all these things, the only thing I didn't try, in all fairness to Blackmagic Design, this is on me, not on them, was I was asked to hook everything up on a separate switch, right? So, and I don't have another switch. I have all of the switches in my house used up. I didn't want to run to the store and buy another switch. So what I did not do is take the laptop, which is what I use primarily, to connect to the control app and connect to the HyperDecks. I did not take my ATEM Mini Pro and my ATEM Mini extreme ISO and disconnect them in my two HyperDecks, because again, everything's fished through my desk. It would have been a process to do that. So what we did instead is we disconnected different things to see if there was one particular device. Like, was two HyperDecks the issue? Was it the ATEM Mini Pro hooked up at the same time as the Extreme? And I still have some other things that I came up with that I'm going to be doing some tests. But what I would like to say tonight, before we get into the good, the bad, and ugly, and just deal with this one ugly thing, is what was surprising to me is I think there hasn't been a lot of people reaching out to tech support about this problem. In fact, when you do reach out to tech support, they give you a little code that's your support code. And I can share that then with my tech guy. We're still communicating, so they can gather this information, because once they said send your HyperDeck in and we'll just, if we can't fix it, we'll replace it. That's when I released the information that I have clients. I have people that attend my live streams. I also have people that have said this problem on other live streams that I follow. And so I shared that, and that's what I was asked to do. Could I possibly talk to my clients and ask them to reach out to tech support and then give me their little tech support code? And I don't know if you might want to do that if you have a HyperDeck. I know some of you do have a HyperDecks, like Tony has a HyperDeck. His video on replacing the fan and making it quiet was what motivated me to replace the fan in my older HyperDeck. The new fans are very quiet, just like the new Extreme and Extreme ISO are very quiet. Some of the older Blackmagic Design equipment is very loud. The fan technology actually has advanced, and you're seeing a lot nicer equipment come out when it comes to fan noise. So, so again, if you would consider it, my point of starting here and taking the first part of tonight's live stream, talking about this conversation with Blackmagic Design, is that, again, I love the company. I love the products they're producing. I even said in my video, I'm not complaining. I just wanted to share this because I knew it would spur a conversation, that people would reach out to me, and I'm getting some. If you go look at the comments on that video, which has a little over 200 views, which is okay for the channel. It's not that old a video. It's one of my best performing videos recently. But my intent was, during those 2 weeks off when I wasn't live streaming, is that I wanted an opportunity to share this challenge that I was having. Now, if you go over to Aaron Parecki's channel, he actually shared a problem that he is having that has nothing to do with the HyperDeck, but everything to do with the control software. And that was a glitch where all of a sudden your video quality drops out. So if I go over to my video quality right now and look at it, it has streaming high in there. And so everything works great. But if you're recording a video, occasionally that drops out and you have nothing in that screen. And then if you go ahead and record ISO tracks, you're okay. But if you don't record ISO, or you don't have ISO recording, your recording isn't going to be okay. So if you've reached out to Blackmagic Design about this HyperDeck IP address disconnect, would you let me know tonight in the chat? If you would like to type out what they said to you, or what they told you. I know, again, Tony said if you leave the HyperDeck on, he's had very little problems with his connecting. Again, I think it's the fact that I'm using two ATEMs. I have a PC and a laptop that I use occasionally. The PC I'll connect to my ATEM Mini Pro, and my laptop I'll connect to my Extreme ISO. So again, let me just look at the chat and catch up. So if you have reached out to Blackmagic Design, please let me know in the chat. And if you would like to share your tech support code, then you can just go over to my Life Journey Productions page, and you can just hit the contact page, and then we could email back and forth. And I'd love to pass on that information. The reason I want to route it through my studio is because I want them to know that there's this many people having that problem, because there is more than one person doing technical support on the side of Blackmagic Design. I think it'll just expedite and speed up the process. But regardless, if you haven't reached out and you do, that's going to speed up the process as well. And I would really like to see this problem go away. It's one thing you have to watch for all the time with the HyperDecks. And I have a lot of people that have never had a HyperDecks that are contacting me and reaching out to me. Some of them are even clients of mine now, because they need training on how to use the HyperDeck. And it's easier for me to do that through my Life Journey Productions Studios support program. than it is for them just to watch a video, and though they tune into the videos as well. So, okay. So, Conjoling Joe says that the bug's been there for at least 6 months. Yeah, I've been experiencing the bug, I think, longer than that, but I'm sure it was in a firmware update, or it just started appearing with the new HyperDecks when they did firmware updates in the HyperDecks, because they did a firmware update when they released the new HyperDecks series. Here's what Tony says. I haven't had a disconnect since leaving the HyperDeck on. I turn the ATEM off when I'm not in the studio, so when it turns on, the HD is already on. And again, that works most of the time for me, Tony, just FYI, but because I have 2 HyperDecks and 2 ATEMs, what I've learned is that if I shut them off in order and then reverse that order, I have better experience with turning all of those things on. And obviously my laptop stays on almost all the time. So does my PC. So thank you for sharing that. You also said this. I'm having, does that pop up there? I'm having a similar issue with SRT decoders. In order for them to take in remote stream, I have to put in the wrong URL, then correct it. And I don't know, I mean, Tony, I think you're using Unify too. So maybe it's a Unify problem. I don't have a clue why that would be, because that's way, way over my head. But there's a couple of you here in the chat that wouldn't be over your head. So Bill says, I have the same HyperDecks as you have and experienced the same problem. It's bothersome. So again, please, I beg you, please reach out to Blackmagic Design and go ahead and give me a shout out. Tell them that I talked about it tonight. I'm asking everybody that hasn't reached out. If you already reached out, then don't bother doing it again unless you've changed some things in your studio. But obviously, they have to figure out what is causing the problem, and that's part of the reason why I was being asked to do this and do that. I totally get that. If that tech was here, it would be the same thing. I would get out of the seat and they'd start unplugging and plugging things back in again. That's just how you do it. But we live in a world now where we're doing all these technical conversations, either in a live stream or in a chat or on some board, or we're in a Zoom call. It's crazy how the world is changing, is it not? And I agree with this. I would think, and for the sake of agreeing, it's likely a simple software bug when ATEM loses connection. There is no reconnect script. I imagine a developer probably thought if the IP address changes, it wasted CPU to run this service. So again, there is some disconnect protocol inside the software for sure, because I see it trying to reconnect. Again, that's when you change the IP address or you go down and hit the save button. Anything changes in those settings, it kind of immediately runs a script. But for some reason, and here's kind of the identifier in my opinion, right? You open it up, the right IP address is there, but it's not connected. And you can't hit reconnect. It doesn't give you an option to reconnect or refresh to try to reconnect. You have to literally put in a wrong IP address and then hit enter inside the slot for the IP address, and then it tries to reconnect. It takes about 3.5, 4 seconds, and then it gives you an error code. Now you can go in and put the right IP address. So it goes from not connected, not even identifying that that's the correct IP address with an error code, but there's no chance for you just to hit reconnect for it to rediscover that's the right IP address. You literally have to tell it the wrong IP address. This reminds me of younger years when I was trying to teach people things. So again, I'm not critiquing Blackmagic Design, because so much is changing in the industry with ATEMs and control software and what we're using. Sorry, notoriously dropped the Wacom pen. That it could be, and again, they're the creators. They write the code for the software. They are ultimately responsible for it working. But again, like everything else, from an outlet, when you're wiring electrical, to a nail gun, if you're not using it correctly, then again, right, there's all those warning labels on everything we get now. So So again, thank you so much. Please, please, if you have HyperDecks and you're having this issue, even if it's been a long time, please let Blackmagic Design know that you are still having that issue and how you're coping with it. And then maybe just a list of the equipment that you're using, because then they can start trying to figure that out. I remember when Adam was testing his mix effects, he had to get loaner equipment from Blackmagic Design. And can you imagine how mix effects would act differently with different gear and different firmwares and all of that stuff? I can't even imagine. I don't want to write apps for that very reason. My hat's off tonight for guys like Adam and those of you who write code. And Joe says they need to add a script to check or just put a reconnect button. And again, yeah, the reconnect button would be great if it would recognize that IP address. I have a funny feeling like it doesn't. For some reason, it's like there is something going on in the code that refuses the correct IP address. And maybe it's because it pinged it at a certain moment and it wasn't correct. And that could be going on in the switch, or could be going on somewhere in the network. Who knows? But again, that's one of the things that's ugly. And then one of the most important questions of the night, it is Black Cherry. I got to be careful because I got dinged for an advertisement and had to take out a piece of my video a few weeks back to get back to monetized. So, but yeah, it is. And I have some coffee here unlabeled that my wife bought me. She's a sweetheart today. And it's just crazy. Oh, wow. Look at this. Let's clear this and go right to this. Thank you so much for the super chat, Tony, my friend. $4.99. Thanks for the efforts with Blackmagic. If enough folks report the bug, they'll eventually do something about it. Amen and amen, which I hear means so be it. Let it happen. Let's gather together. Again, guys, philosophically, let me make this very, very crystal clear, right? Icy clear, hot like the flame. Get it through to each one of you. I think if we could be as positive as possible with Blackmagic Design and say that we together want to find out how to solve this problem, which may mean that some of you may have to do some testing like I did for Adam earlier on with the HyperDecks, because again, I want to help this community be successful, and it does take effort. It takes time. And again, we all know that time can be money at times if we are running a business. But I really believe in this community, and I believe in this product, and I'm looking forward to what's coming down the pipe. And again, Tony, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And again, channel's growing. Freddie said it earlier. Let me see, Freddie, can I find your chat? It's worthy of putting on the screen here from earlier. Freddie said this, and we have hit, that's mine to Freddie. Where's Freddie's? Clear. There it is. 1.14K subscribers. So thank you so much, Freddie, for that shout out earlier. I am doing my absolute best to continue to grow the channel and appreciate it. So we'll just let this speak for itself there, Joe, so I don't get in trouble. And thank you, Bill, for saying that you'll give Blackmagic Design a shout out. And they might be listening tonight. I invited them to come and check out. So you can't see who's here unless they say hi. And I have subscriber only turned on just because as the channel grows, I want people chatting that have subscribed, and they can watch if they haven't subscribed while we're live, and all they have to do is subscribe, and 5 minutes later they can be chatting live if they so desire to do that. And again, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I will continue to endeavor to put out some great videos as we get ready to turn this corner into spring. Okay, so I don't want to run out of time talking about this topic, so let's just chat a few minutes about the good, the bad, and ugly. And we spent quite a bit of time on the ugly, so I really don't want to rant. I do have a couple more items that I do want to share. with you, and then more stuff in the post show that I will talk about. But again, let's talk about the HyperDecks. So again, I have two HyperDecks, the HyperDeck Studio Mini, which is the older 1/3 rack version. It does have an alpha channel and a key channel, which are both SDI. And I love that deck. I was learning how to run it. I did a video series here on the channel. So if you'd like to see that series, I add to it all the time. When I talk about those devices extensively, I try to add those videos to that playlist as well. And I have a new HyperDeck HD Plus playlist I want to add to that as well. That video I just put out will get added to that HD Plus series. But the good, I love the webcam out. And I've talked about this before, but you can literally come out of the USB-C now like you could an ATEM and use it as a webcam. You can do that with your HyperDeck. And you think about that with your thinking brain, right? There's lots of things you can do with that, especially if you're training or doing Zoom calls or Google GoToMeetings or all of those other software, Microsoft Meetings. I obviously primarily use Zoom, but I've used many other meeting software. I used to use Google all the time when I worked for the company that I left recently, actually 3 years ago now, but and it was a great tool, and it was archaic. All of them were archaic, and they're growing, they're getting better all the time. But imagine what you can do now that you can bring in through USB-C into a PC without going through a ATEM, without all of that process, because I can come through my ATEMs, then use it as an output on my program and then show it or go into SuperSource. But we all know that there's issues with some of the conferencing software when you are not showing, you're not sharing your screen, and you're just trying to put data information, the desktop on the screen. It just doesn't have the quality that you need. Well, so just imagine how you could do a little training video before a Zoom call and then play it through your HyperDeck through USB-C. Obviously, you're gonna have to have a fast enough computer to have a USB-C coming from your camera, either through a cam link or through a ATEM, right? Any one of them. But again, you could also come through the HyperDeck. So you could literally have a camera going into the HyperDeck, and you could come out of the HyperDeck USB-C and have a webcam. So you could have your camera be part webcam, and then you could switch over to play mode out of record mode, which is what you'd be in order to show your camera. Because when you're in record mode in the HyperDeck, it is now whatever the input is coming in through the main input. When you're in play mode, it's obviously whatever is inside the deck getting ready to play. So you would be switching that. If you wanted both of those to be live at the same time, then obviously you'd have to put your camera into an ATEM. Even the ATEM Mini can do webcam out, and then you'd have to have two USB-Cs going into your laptop, and they have to be pretty fast and not be filled with other things in order to do that. So looking forward to that. Oh, I see this. Thank you so much. Wow. It is a super chat night. Thank you so much, Controlling Technology, for the super chat. And I will let my wife know. She cuts my hair, so I guess I owe her the money now. I don't know how that works. So, because she's free until now. So that's interesting. Thank you so much, Joe, for that super chat. I hope that makes you smile. So I got to hand Shannon, 30% less of $4.99. Actually, probably to be right by you, I have to hand her the whole $4.99. So that's hilarious. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of our relationship here at the house, not our relationship here on live stream. So, okay, number 2, headphone out. Absolutely love headphone out on the HyperDeck HD Studio HD Plus, and then the other decks. There is not a headphone out. And I'm just going to do this. I know this is going to be crazy looking video. Wait, I can probably do this a little different here. How could I do this? Let's try this. Let's go to me and my desktop and me. Let's come down into SuperSource. Let's change what's in box number 2 here. And let's make it Media Player 1. Bear with me here. So with that craziness done, drag this back over. And let's do this. Now all of a sudden my control software is locked up. That is not good. Hopefully I'm not losing the stream. Let me know in the chat if we are still good. Okay, it came up. That scared me. So let me drop this in here. This is the back of the new little, oh man, it filled the screen anyway. So that didn't help. I think I can bring myself up here like this. Nope. Let's not do all this. Let's see, what was I in here? I literally should have had these ready. I do not understand why that is filling the whole screen. Yes, I do. Try that again. This is what happens, guys, when you don't go live every week. You don't have enough practice to know what you're doing. I had the key on using that same media player, so it filled the whole screen. I needed to turn the key off, which is key number 1, which is my logo, so that I could use it in just input in my super source. So there's the back of the new HD Mini, Studio HD Mini. And so it does have time code. You can see it still has a HDMI out, has a USB out. It will do webcam, but it does not have a SDI alpha channel. So, but again, it's a great device and it has some great pluses. So what I like about the new decks is from the Studio HD Plus and up, you have this headphone output. You can see it there. And I'll drop these other guys in here. You can see it here on the far left. And let's see. You can see it there on the far left. So you also have, what I love is the remote button. And if you go back to the front of this, you can see it does not have that remote button, and it does not have that little headphone out. And again, I like the good too is the remote button. I love the fact that you can do time code syncing now out of the back of all 4 of those new decks. And I did just put 4 decks on the screen. That's number 1. This is number 2, the HD Plus. And then you have the higher end 2 that have the really cool high-end control knob on them with all the gears on it. So I think that's the 4K. This is the regular HD higher end version. I haven't had either one of these. I do have this deck right here. And you can see I have a remote switch right there, which turns on the ability to automate the HyperDecks. So if I don't want to automate it for some reason in the middle of a live stream, I can turn that off and then turn it back on again. One reason would be recording. You wouldn't want actually to start a play, so you'd turn remote off when you're recording to a deck. And there are people that just use HyperDecks to record. So I also love the little speaker out, and you can see right next to the little speaker button, you see a little slot there. That's actually a speaker inside the HD Plus, the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. So, and you have it on the 2 upper end models as well. And so you have headphone output, you have the remote control button. And then if you hold down that speaker button, you'll be able to hear the speakers go up and down by controlling the knob. Or if you have the headphones in and you hold that button down, your headphone volume goes up and down. So it depends on if you have headphones plugged in or not. You can actually crank up the volume on your headphones just by holding down the remote button and turning the knob. So it takes 2 fingers, one on the speaker button, not the remote button. So one on the speaker button and one on the knob. And so if you have a HyperDeck HD Plus or one of the other 2 models up to the 4K, then you can actually play with that button. And if you do not have headphones in, you hold that button down, there's a little speaker on the front of the HyperDeck. So again, now you can actually hear if your video audio is playing, not just see the level meter. So again, that is one of the positive things that I really like about the new HyperDecks. I love the fact that there is a new layout to it. So the menus have changed. Let's throw in, there's a dark mode, and you can see the dark mode right there. I use it all the time. Where in the older HyperDecks, there wasn't a dark mode, so it was really hard to read the writing on the top. And I love the black dark mode because it helps you see the video better on that tiny little screen. Now I have a monitor coming out, and that's the other thing I love about it. It has a SDI out with information on the screen. So if you come out of the back of the HyperDeck through the SDI out, then you get data on the screen, and I love having that data on the screen. I think I can share this tonight. Let's see if I have a live Apple TV. Let's do this real quick. I'm turning on my Apple TV. I am turning on the app Filmic Pro, which lets me display so I can make you guys crazy dizzy, if you remember that. And then I'm going to change the input to box number 2 to input 3, and that puts this live. And then there's the data on the screen. So you can see in the top left, you got codec, ProRes, 1080p, 2997. Next to that is the time code. On the bottom, you can see it's my HyperDeck Studio HD Plus. And next to that is the status stop. Next to that is no card in slot 1, but there's a card in slot 2. And then no drive. And so again, I only have one card in because I don't want to confuse my macros. So I'll back up from that screen, and you can see that in the top left quadrant of my BenQ monitor, and you'll see my Canon 5D Mark III there and my boom arm, but there's 4 different things displaying inside, from multi-view to my control software to my desktop, and that's the chat as well as the data on the screen right there. So again, it is a great way to be able to see data, and it's a good, not a bad, not an ugly. I absolutely love that. So let's go on. I see Stop and Think here. I just want to say hi. Thank you for joining us. Hank, it's good to have you here from Bluffton, South Carolina, and appreciate that. Thank you for welcoming me home and shouting out earlier in the week about me coming back on live. So we are talking about the HyperDecks, both the olds and the new ones, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're finishing the good, and we'll move on to the bad and the ugly. So talked about dark mode. HDMI out is good. We've always had HDMI out in the HyperDecks, but now there is an HDMI input. So if you want to come straight out of a camera into a HyperDeck and record without buying a converter, it's great. I love it. It is a great, great, great feature. So I love, again, the ability to do that. Again, last thing I want to say about it is the menus have gotten better. There's more information there. There's more things that you have control over, like the dark mode. And I love the menus. Maybe one night we'll just cover menus and talk about what things are inside the menus. Again, I think you can find a lot of that information on my new series that I did on the HyperDeck. Is not new now, but it's the newer of the 2 HyperDeck series. So that's kind of the good. If I missed anything that you really like about the new HyperDecks, let me know. This is a great question. Let me go back to this screen right here and cut back to channel 2. Let's just do this. Go back to my macros. You go back to me and a logo here. And let me see if I can put this question on the screen. Chat on the air. So, is the USB output 720p or 1080p? I've heard conflicting reports on this. Nothing in documentation. That's a great question. I would have to do some testing. I'm assuming it's 1080p, just like the webcam out. I'm sure they're using the same interface or the encoder inside it as they are in the ATEMs. I could be wrong, Tony, because I don't have a definitive yes. It's 1080p. I'll hedge because that's exactly what I'm doing. You know what hedging is, right? It's a terminology for not quite answering the question. True or false? Could be. But I will tell you this. I will do some testing this week and check that out. You should be able to see that in OBS pretty easily. Set up a 1080p stream and then bring that in to see if it fits when you go full size or if it doesn't. So that would be a good way of checking that out. Good question, Tony, as usual. Stump the panel. Awesome. Gives me something to check out today. Constantly learning about the HyperDeck. It helps me be in the know with that device. I'm not sure what all good is for. Freddie, sorry I missed something you said earlier. But okay, so let's move on from the good to the bad. And it's a short list for me. So number one, if you're writing these down, there's not going to be a test. I should do a quiz after. It is the learning curve. I'm going to put it in the bad column. Not necessarily ugly column, because everything has a learning curve. But the HyperDeck, because of some of the things we're going to talk about in the bad, and I've talked about it before, like this disconnect, not only do you have to learn how to operate it and connect it to an ATEM and automate it, if you're going to try to do more complicated things with it, like play a video or play lower thirds, animated graphics. And again, the HyperDecks do some incredible things. We might as well show them off. If this works, this should show you my new please subscribe button. So it's a commercial as well. So designed this in After Effects this week. This is different. The share comes off and falls down. I like that. I'll play it one more time for kicks and giggles. There you go. It's my subscribe button with the ring the bell, hit the like button, and then I have the share come off and drop in the bottom. And again, that's automated with my HyperDeck with a macro. I'm using MixFX to activate the macro. And as long as I have that disk in HyperDeck 2, then it'll play. I have other thing in the HyperDeck, so I'm gonna pull that out. Talk about learning curve. Because you have two SD cards in, you can have a set of files on one that are all automated, animated, whatever you want to call it. Let me change files here, because that's a file I'm going to be showing in the post show, so you can see it behind me. But let me change to this one. So many of you saw my intro still image, and many of you saw that I did this kind of this animated graphic and then made a still of it, and that's what I used for tonight's live stream. Let me play that for you right now. So if you're automated and you know what button to push, so I've set input number 5 in my ATEM Mini Extreme ISO as my HyperDeck 1, which is my old HyperDeck Studio Mini, because again, I have two. HyperDeck Studio Mini I've had for a while, and now I have the learning curve of the new HD Plus. And so learning curve running two of them, but again, the animation you saw hitting subscribe, and now if I flip discs, so I unplugged disc 2, unplugged disc 1, put in disc 2, and it has two videos on it that I could play in the middle of my show when I'm not using some of the other HyperDeck Studio Mini automation. So I'm going to switch to channel 5. You're not going to see me anymore. You're just going to see this video play. You should still be able to hear me, which you can, and there you go. That's the animation that I created in Premiere Pro today. Because I wanted this effect not only to talk about one of the things you can do with a HyperDeck, but you can also integrate your video editing skills, your After Effects skills, your green screen skills, because that's what that fire is. It is a graphic that I have in my repertoire of graphics that is a flame on the ground, and it crosses the whole frame, and it has different size flames, and I was able to integrate that in my still images by using Adobe Premiere and the keying feature, the Ultra Key feature, which I am going to do a little demo of that in the post show, because we got lots to cover tonight. But I will say this, it is a great tool to play video in the middle of your live stream. So you have the animated graphics like my subscribe. So again, I just changed this. I can do that on the fly because it's within my reach. And a lot of people say, well, I leave mine in the rack. Well, then you can change this inside MixFX, because MixFX is the only way, that app, that you can change HyperDeck discs. So you can actually have both of them in, and in MixFX, which I'm not using it for that. It's hard enough to switch from sources in SuperSource to macros. So I kind of limit that in my studio, and I just use my fingers because they're within reach. So once you change this, now I can play my subscribe logo again and bring it on the screen, and that macro automatically turns that key on, it runs the logo, and then it animates the key off again, and it slowly disappears, and I was able to switch that live. So the HyperDecks are great for playing lower thirds, they're great for playing videos, but again, we've also talked about web cameras, but the learning curve is pretty intense, and I've kind of focused some of the part of my channel on that learning curve to help people learn things faster so that they can have a HyperDeck, raise a level of the game of their live streams or their recordings by having a HyperDeck. And I also want to help people with graphics. And one of the things I'm going to be focusing on this spring is how to do some of these tricks that aren't that really complicated inside Premiere Pro or even After Effects. And so tonight in the post show, we'll touch on how I built that, and I'll show you a graphic that I'll show in the post show as well. So that graphic was put together. I just took a still image in Premiere Pro and was able to fire that on the screen. And I do have Premiere Pro opened, and I do have that graphic here to show you guys. So let's cut back to, let's see, if I do this, it shouldn't throw me under the bus here. Cool. So this is that graphic, and you can see how many layers there are. I'll zoom into the layers here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. And again, a little more up close look at the graphic. So there's all these layers, and you can watch what happens as I turn them off, because these little eyeballs right here next to this, and again, this is Premiere Pro, and you're able to turn layers on or off with a little eyeball. And so if I turn these layers off, one at a time, top to bottom, so I got them all in view here, turn the top layer off, you can see the little "the" goes away. If I turn the second one off, you can see the good, bad, and ugly goes away. If I turn this next layer off, the flames disappear. So there is your keyed out layer. And again, all I did was use the Ultra key and the Ultra key. So if we click on that layer and we go up right here, you can see here is the key. It's called an Ultra key. You just drag and drop it in out of the effects right here. So if I was to go up here in the effects folder and type in Ultra, then you're going to see right here, it shows me the Ultra key. I can sort by key or Ultra, and then you drag and drop that onto that graphic that is a fire on a green background. And it wouldn't have to be green, it could be blue. You just have to be able to key out the color, and then you just take the dropper and you go into the middle of that graphic, and you then use the dropper, take out the green. That's, again, in my green screen video, I showed how to do that here on the channel. And then you would adjust these different settings to get the look that you're looking for. And again, we'll talk a little bit about what I did in the post show for the graphic that I'm going to show in that part of our live streams tonight. So that's the second layer. So we're going to turn layer 1 off, layer 2 off, and now layer 3 off. And now we get down to, that is the graphic. This is HyperDeck 2, HyperDeck 1, and now all that's left is a still image, and I created this still image in Adobe Illustrator. Didn't want to build all of this. There's no reason to. The background, it was all going to be in the background, so I knew that was going to be my main layer. It'd be like the table I'm going to work on, and that's how you got to think about it. Layer 1 would be everything in the back. Layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. So you want the fire in front of something or in back and in front. You would put a layer down first, then the graphic on top of that, and then fire on the top of that. And then you would add the other graphics on top of that. So you got to think in layers as you're building anything in Adobe Premiere or After Effects. And if you're in After Effects, you just have a lot more things that you can do with the effects, even though Adobe Premiere and After Effects are becoming more and more alike. But there are some really, really cool next level things that you can only do in After Effects that rarely does anyone do in Premiere Pro. Or if they do it in Premiere Pro, they're importing and exporting into After Effects. And then that's what I love about the packages. These things communicate with each other, but you have to have a pretty good CPU and you have to have a pretty good amount of memory in the background. So again, all those layers off, everything disappears if I turn the layer off. So on one at a time, 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5, layer 6, layer 7, no layer 7. And then if I hit play, there you go. That's the graphic, and it is playing, and I've already rendered it. If it wasn't rendered, you would see red right up here where you see all yellow. And again, really cool effects that you can do using Ultra Key, green screen. So let's say you wanted to have something that you could play. You could create a fire, put a green screen behind a fireplace, or just take a board and put it in your gas fireplace. Be really careful, something that's not flammable, and spray paint it green. And then you could do a fire too, or you could build a fire outside, or you could do a fire in front of a green screen on concrete, get the camera all the way down and shoot up, and then let that fire go on gasoline or whatever. Be very careful. Maybe coal oil would be the best way to go, not gasoline. But again, then you could record that frames of fire, and now you have fire on a green screen, or you could have a blue screen. And I could actually do that in my garage because I have concrete in my garage, and I have fabric that I can bring down, or papers I can bring down and do green screen. So, okay, so let's go back to me and a logo. That is one of the bad things, is the learning curve. Let me see what else we have here in the chat. Anything else? Let me know if you're still with me, because I'm not seeing any chat, and hopefully I didn't lose the stream. Let me go back in here and just look at it. Yeah, we look good. So hopefully everything is going good. But okay, so that's kind of how I built that graphic, just a nutshell. And the learning curve in the ATEM and the Extreme are one thing, but a HyperDeck is adding a whole another layer. So thank you for saying still here, Freddie. I'll pop that on the screen for having my back there, buddy. Thank you so much for letting me know all is good. Okay, so let's get through the list tonight. If you have any questions about anything I've talked about in the good or the bad, please let me know. I want to share just a couple more bad things. The USB cable needing to be plugged in for updates. Most times we just have a internet cable hooked up to it, or Ethernet cable hooked up to it actually, and it's in the switch, and you can control it from the control software. I don't understand why we can't do updates through that same channel. I do not keep a USB cable plugged into my HyperDeck Studio Mini, and so you want to keep the firmware up to date. I don't know that there's going to be any more firmware updates on the older decks, but I'm sure there's going to be more and more firmware updates on the HyperDecks that they came out with back in July. So that is also on my bad list. And I've already talked about my ugly, but let's finish up tonight before the last few minutes of Q&A. And let me just say that I've talked about this in the past. The codecs, in my opinion, are ugly, right? Great codecs inside of the HyperDeck, but I have to say they're ugly because you can only do ProRes files, it seems, in order to do animated graphics if you want a key channel. I was able to get one codec in DaVinci Resolve to work, right? Because if you have the Windows version of DaVinci Resolve, it doesn't come with any of the Apple ProRes. It comes with some QuickTime codecs, which should be Apple codecs, but they don't seem to work with the HyperDecks. And you also have to make sure that you set the codec in the HyperDeck. So whatever you're going to set in the HyperDeck, it's going to see easy, and that makes it more usable than not. So let me turn this off on my phone here, because I don't need to be tethered here anymore. So again, that to me is ugly. You can't just record in any of the software out there and create a graphic transparent with an alpha channel and a key channel, export that so that you can do a pre-multiplied flying graphic. That's an issue because you can't seem to get anything else but using like ProRes, Apple ProRes 444 with an alpha channel. And you can do that in After Effects. You can do that in Premiere Pro. You can do that if you have a Mac version of DaVinci Resolve. But for some reason, if you are a PC user, there seems to be some limits. Even though Blackmagic Design are the creators of DaVinci Resolve, if you are a PC user, it seems like a slap in the hand because they don't give you those codecs. Now, it is free. So in all fairness, my hat off goes out to Blackmagic Design. They do have a free version of their DaVinci Resolve. And so how can you even say anything negative about that because it doesn't have a codec? But for a lot of people that were trying to use the DaVinci Resolve that are actually have been clients of mine, they want to use DaVinci Resolve because it's free and they want to be able to make graphics for their HyperDecks and be able to do a key channel, and they can't seem to do that, and they're reaching out to me. So that's ugly because it's hours of help support from me with clients having to let them know that they need to get a tool where they can do some rendering in ProRes so that they can use that feature. Okay, no key channel in that little HyperDeck HD. That, in my opinion, is an issue. So people think that because the old HyperDeck Studio Mini had an alpha and a key channel, that they're also going to be able to buy that smaller version new one for $495, I think is what it's selling for right now, US. And they think that they're going to get a alpha and a key channel. And again, I showed you guys that graphic earlier. Let's go like this. Minimize this for a second. Go back to me and my desktop. Let's turn my logo off. Let's switch Super Source Box 2 again. I need a macro for this. I apologize. I don't have a macro for this. I do not know why I seem to do this a lot on my shows. And then I want to bring in Box 2, my Media Player 1, and then I'll drag this graphic over there again. Where are you? There is the back of that smaller one. And you can see all the way over there, there is an SDI out, but that is just out. There is not a SDI B, which would be the key channel like you would see in the other HyperDecks. And I have the back of mine so that you can see on the top right, there they are. You have the ability to have A and a B and fill, which would just play your video. And then if you had a graphic that was animated and transparent and you wanted to have a pre-multiplied keyed out background, then you would be able to do that. And if you don't know what a key out background looks like, let's change that input to number 5 right now. There it is. That is my animated logo. And if I hit play on that, you're only seeing the key. That's the key on my Stinger. And if we go back here, that is the key on my Subscribe. So that's what the key looks like. And you do not have that key channel available on that little HD version. If you buy it, you only get it when you buy the HD Plus and up. So keep that in mind. Again, I think that is one of the ugly things because it's a surprise. I've had clients actually buy that, then contact me and say, Keith, would you help me hook it up and show me how to do animated lower thirds with a key channel? And I'm going, you can't do it in that device. So again, I think that's one of the uglies. And then the last thing is, I think is an ugly. In the new devices, it would be great to have a HDMI out A, which it's great that there is an HDMI input now and there's an HDMI out for monitoring. But what if someone wanted to have an HDMI out for, and I guess it's one of the 3 wishes. So wish number 1 is they fix that IP address issue. Wish number 2 is they'd add another HDMI output, and it would be a key channel out for many of the ATEM users, because why should you buy a converter if it's not necessarily? I do know it's more sales, so raise the price a little bit and give us one more option to have a HyperDeck with a HDMI out for alpha and an HDMI out, which is A channel, and B channel being a key channel for pre-multiplied graphics. So those are 2 of my wishes, and we'll talk to the last one here in a minute. So again, that's the bad, that's the ugly, and all the good. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. So again, I hope you guys, if you enjoyed that, please let me know. Let me get back to my macros here so we get the logo up. So that's it for the good, the bad, and ugly. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I do need to wrap this up to get to the post show, but I want to look at the questions, and then I want to share with you before we go my last wish. So wish number 1, fix the IP address in the HyperDeck. Wish number 2, please, at some point, give us another HDMI output that is a key channel. And let's see. Kevin Crawley, thank you for joining us. I see that you are here tonight, and it's always good to see you. You'll have to go back and watch if you want to hear all the good, the bad, and ugly of the HyperDecks, as well as my conversation with the technical support at Blackmagic Design. I will say this, if you do have a HyperDeck and you're having the IP address disconnect problem, where all of a sudden the IP address disconnects, and if you want to see what that looks like, I put a video on my channel, which is uploaded, 5-minute video that talks about it. And if you're having that problem, please reach out to Blackmagic Design technical support and let them know you are having that problem, what you're using, what devices you have linked together, and maybe we can come up with a solution for that. So it's good to have you. Freddie says, hi, Kevin. Kevin says, good to see you, Freddie. And also, Tony says hi to Kevin. And Tony gets a hi back from Kevin Crawley. So, again, what is my final wish? My final wish for my world, right? And this is a stretch, but I'm going to wish anyway, right? If you had a genie, I don't have anything here that I can rub. I guess I could rub this. If I could get a genie to come out of the bottle and wish 3 wishes, and it had to do with the HyperDeck, the last wish would be this. I wish my relationship with Blackmagic Design was as clean and as clear and as fun to develop a relationship with Adam Tao. It's one of the things why I talk about Mix Effects. It's why I'm a supporter, because he is just an amazing guy to work with. I understand that Blackmagic Design has been around a long time. There's lots of people that have that, but even in Adam's channel growing, he's, I think, almost over 2,000 subscribers now. If you haven't subscribed, check out Adam Tao's channel and the app Mix Effects. But my wish would be that I could have a relationship with Blackmagic Design someday that's like that. And I wish we could all have it, so it would make it easy when we are solving these issues and having problems with our HyperDecks. So again, that's my fiery list, right? Conversation, the good, the bad, and ugly, my 3 wish list. Again, IP address being fixed. Obviously, that would be great. And having that relationship that Adam Tao has with Blackmagic Design would be great as well. And of all of those wishes came through tonight that I listed, the world would be a happier place for me, especially with my clients. So, well, guys, that's it. I don't see any more chat. Thank you so much tonight, Tony and Conjoling, for the super chats. I sure appreciate it. That'll be reinvested right here in the studio. And I have some great things to talk about in the post show. I have a couple of projects I'm going to talk about. I have a special guest coming in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, Freddie, for saying good night. And I will hopefully see you guys over in the post show. And Kevin Crawley, be nice if I was a beta tester. Yeah, maybe I could be a beta tester. Freddie says, see you in the post show. And again, I hope I'll see all of you guys in the post show. That's it. I'm going to wrap up and move over there after I have a quick bathroom break. So stay tuned. We'll be live in the post show here shortly. Again, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. And I hope to see you over in the post show. Let's see. Outro live show. There it is.